been shut off, clearly. And I think it's really important that there's a two-way communication here, because I really want to know what you guys think. What I was talking about that seemingly sent the last feed into oblivion is the same shit it always is. Talking about Israel, talking about the Jays, talking about this, that, and the other. But I'm talking specifically about the control over the presidency. Comments are working this time. Hey, and so is your. You got the right your on that one. Good job. I went to go look up the original Trump inauguration. So it's interesting how this works. When Trump gets inaugurated, before he is actually addressed, the last people to speak before it is, the first time it was the rabbi, the pastor, and the preacher, in that order. So the rabbi goes first. I don't know what happened this time. This time it wasn't nearly the fanfare it was last time. So I didn't even see this last inauguration. So I went to go look up what the previous inauguration speech was for the J. And here we are now. This is Rabbi Ari Berman delivers benediction, Trump 2025 inauguration. Now just look at the picture you have here. Rabbi right in the middle, Trump on one side here with his weird orange color. Look at how nobody else is the same color as Trump. Look at that shit. He stands out.
Yeah.
Matt, good morning. Didn't see you were here the first time. Then on this side you have this bullshit, right? But listen to what this guy says. Now, remember, this is all of you guys that are America First, Trump supporters. You know, there's no way Israel controls things. I'm just a conspiracy theorist. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. That's because Trump has his own race. No, Trump's a J. I don't know how far back, but he is. Yeah. Listen to what this guy says. And remember, I am a conspiracy theorist. I'm the bad guy for saying in 2028, when I win the presidency, we're going to make Judaism illegal here in the United States. Okay? This is the inauguration of your American president. Listen to what this guy says.
Let us pray.
Let us pray. Come on, let's pray.
Almighty God, your prophet Jeremiah walked the streets of Jerusalem and blessed its inhabitants with the Hebrew words, Baruch HaGevem.
First 10 seconds of what he said. Listen to the rest, but seems like they don't like me talking about this, huh, people? Can anybody tell me what this has to do with the United States of America? All of you America First people. They're really messing with your stream. So much lag. Gee, I wonder why.
Blessed is the one who trusts in God. Thousands of years later.
Wait. So the statement that God gave Jeremiah was that blessed are the ones who trust in God. This is America. America.
This great nation which adopted these words.
Look at all these idiots. All these idiots that are Christians that are bowing their heads and praying while a J rabbi leads the sermon. Like, do you not see that? Is really, really fucking weird. And remember when Trump was inaugurated last time, there was the big fanfare, the big presentation.
Trump was impeached and had to leave office. Oh wait, he never had to leave office.
There was the it was everywhere. The streets were shut down. They had the whole large buildings, and this is in like a gymnasium or some shit. The president of the United States is getting inaugurated his benediction in this.
We trust stands at a moment of historic opportunity.
Yeah.
Years later, this great nation, which adopted these words as its motto, "In God we trust," stands at a moment of historic opportunity. Americans
Look at
are
his
searching
fucking
for
face.
meaning.
Oh yes.
Our merciful Father, help us rise to choose the right and the good. Unite us around our foundational biblical values of life and liberty.
Remember that whole Remember no, I don't see him. Remember the whole separation of church and state?
No, that doesn't exist.
Separation of church and state. Am I involved with the kid? I know his father. And my name is Aldo Montoya. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But, of course, instead of being involved in what's being said, let's talk about it. Well, even Jesus was a J, so as a Christian, they might feel like they need to show respect.
Well, they are the chosen people.
They're right. It's like it's not a choice. This is part of the stupidity. If you're going to believe in this, you have to believe that. That's what the rules state. You don't just get to pick and choose which things you believe. I believe we have a designer. Our bodies are too complicated not to have one, but I don't believe those who tell me who he was. Why do you think that? Like, who told you that our bodies are too complicated? How complicated do you think it would be to create a world? Especially the world you believe, the round ball spinning through space with a jello mold on the inside. Like, the structure of everything is super duper complex. But at the same time, we have supercomputers that can basically do it now. Do you know? Like, no, you don't. We don't. We are so close to having, for all we know, they already do. But having a reality show that is in a giant structure that the people inside don't know they're in. Like, we have all that technology. 3D printers, fucking, what's it called? Fractal mathematics and all that kind of shit. You want to talk about it's too complicated? Why? Why is it too complicated? It's maybe too complicated for you to build it with Legos. But to say, obviously this is a manufactured reality we live in. Now, I do appreciate you saying that it's not what they tell us. And you leave the door open, that's for sure. And that's, we're not spontaneous. The Big Bang Theory is just as stupid as, it's actually even dumber than the Jesus stuff. And that hurts me to say. Right? Like, I think of the religious narrative as the epitome of stupidity. But the Big Bang thing is even dumber. Hold on, did you just ask how hard is it to make a world? Like, you know how hard it is? I'm sorry, but what? This guy is dumb as fuck. Why did the world have to be created? Why was it not always there? What? How could something always be there? There'd be creators. Again, the stupidity in thinking it's either this or it's that. You're either Republican or Democrat. It's either man or woman. You're either gay or straight. It's either black or white. Like, it's just dumb. There's a lot of options that it could be. And when you put like logical thought into it, the Big Bang Theory and the Jesus theory are basically the same thing. They're just worded differently. But the thing where we're inside of something that we don't know we're in because of more, like, seriously. Is it 100 years? Is it 500 years? Like, how long do you think it would be before humans could create an environment that didn't know it was a manufactured environment? And as long as they control, like, you know, again, it's our arrogance that's our downfall, right? Our arrogance in believing that we know how everything works because we live in this little tiny bubble, and then we're told a bunch of shit and we pick and choose which things we believe. The reality is, like, I don't even know. My wife is on her phone right now. I have no idea what my wife is looking at. Whatever it is, I'm just saying. I can't sit here and say, I know everything about my wife. I know, but I don't.
Trump team revokes $11 billion in funding for addiction and mental health care.
Yeah, well, got to give that money to Israel. I don't believe in America, so I feel like I have to believe our world always existed. Wow, that's fucking stupid. God, that's stupid. That's so close-minded. But again, how far away do you think we are from shrinking technology, from invisible technology, and from, you know, organic 3D printers? I mean, seriously. The fact is, you have no idea the capabilities that the system has. I mean, my wife and I, 45 plus years old, both of us, like, we don't even know the capabilities of, like, our cell phones and our TV and shit like that. We're so far in the past. There are, you know, smart houses and all that shit. There is so much technology that you probably don't think exists or think is like science fiction that actually exists. But how far do you think it's going to be? How long do you think it's going to take before we can create a tabletop thing, maybe the size of a bed, a big bubble type dome thing that, you know, once you pass through a certain room or whatever, you shrink down into our size, into human size on that thing. And that there's invisible cameras everywhere. And how far do you think that is? Well, then I ask, is our world man-made? I mean, this is all the distraction, bullshit, nonsense that we should not be wasting our time thinking about. At the end of the day, all of these questions cannot be answered by us. The only way we can answer these questions is if we Goyim get together and overthrow the chosen that are in charge. The J's in charge of our narrative. That's the only way we can ever actually answer these questions. So sitting here postulating on what it could be or couldn't, it's stupid. We don't know. The only thing I know for sure is that God and Jesus isn't real. The earth is not a spinning ball flying through space. And we're not told the truth. I know those things. That shit's true. I'd be willing to bet all of the money, all of my everything on the earth not being a round ball flying through space. I do not believe that shit. It's fucking stupid. But it's a big distraction because it really doesn't matter. I mean, we're not too far from fantasy technology. We literally froze light not too long ago, or so you're told. So you think our maker is just a human made our entire existence. So dropping on it could probably help me because they were teaching me nonsense. It's not just the information that's important in schools. And it's really good to learn that stuff. What makes me so effective is that I know all of the stuff we're supposed to know. I liked that stuff. I liked learning. And it broke my heart when I had to admit that the earth wasn't round. You know, but I couldn't do it. I was presented with information I couldn't just override, and I'm not the type of person that has faith in things. But at this point, to me, again, it just, when you compare the shape of the earth to the genocide that's taking place right now, it doesn't compare. When you compare it to the slavery that we all are subjected to and just don't realize it, it doesn't compare. So can you break down the solar system for me since my school system failed me? What solar system? You live in something. When you look up, you see a bunch of lights in the sky. That's it. That's your solar system. You have no idea what the fuck it all is. You know, from your perspective, the moon and the sun are the same size.
We have pictures.
And they everything seemingly moves across the sky. If you weren't told the narrative that you're supposed to believe, you would never come up with it. You would never be like, well, the four inner planets are planetoid planets, while the other they're gas giants, where the inside of the planet is a rocky core, but the next outside layer is metallic hydrogen, and then around that outside core is compressed hydrogen. It's just gas. It's a gas giant. It's a gas liquid metal giant. It's insane. It's so insane to think that scientists even claim to know what Jupiter's inner workings are. If that doesn't just fuck with your head. I dropped out because I failed my finals. And they passed me to go to the next year. I realized that school system was just a joke. No, it's not. It's great. School is great. Being an adult is really difficult, especially if you don't do well in school. And you don't have the ability to create a really good life for yourself. But the school experience is fantastic. I want my kids to go to college, if anything, just to go experience what that's like. You know, to be a kid standing in the stands, cheering for your team. Yeah, that's all that's fun. That's this unique experience that you only get at that age. You know, I hope they experience that. If they don't, well, then we're going to, change course, try to get them in a trade school, something. But it's all worth it. It's all worth it to learn. It's worth it to learn, to experience other people, to learn how to interact with people and shit. It's to build friendships, and all these things are valuable. The information is secondary. You know? Does the moon exist? I mean, is there a ball of light in the sky? Yes. Do I know what that is? No. Do you? No. You know, you could say, oh, well, it looks like this. Okay, well, it looks like anything. You know, I can show, if you go get a PS5 or whatever fucking number they're on right now, and you go get the best game the game that won all the newest best game that wins all the graphic awards, and you put that on a TV that's a super HD, ultra hi-fi, super clear TV, and you have the highest end coax cables, and it's gonna look better than looking out a window. You're gonna be like, man, it's like, I mean, even this picture that we have on our shitty TV is light years ahead of what we grew up with. the big tube TVs, or God forbid, the big screen TVs that were the size of a house, and you had to sit right in the middle, get your head just at the right angle, because if you were at the side or you were up too high, or it was like it didn't work. You know, the technology that we in 2025 have is light years ahead of 1925, so we're told. So to think that like what 2125 is going to have for us, we can't even fathom it. You know, our grandparents, when they were kids, could not fathom the idea of the TV that we have in our house. Nothing they saw worked like that. Movies weren't that clear.
Let alone a cell phone.
Mm-hmm. A cell phone that connects to the internet that allows my dumbass to stand here in Michigan and talk this kind of shit to anybody in the world who can connect into the same system. They never would have thought about that. It's called school because we get schooled, son. Do you believe the moonlight is a reflection of the sun? It's clearly not. It's been proven time and time again that moonlight is actually cold light. That if you're standing out, if it's a full moon night and you stand out directly in the moonlight, it's going to be colder than if you're underneath a tree in the shade. Why would the moon reflect the sun? The whole thing is just stupid. How come when it's a solar eclipse, you can't see the moon until it's in front of the sun? How does that make any sense whatsoever? And then why does the moon stop in the direct middle of the sun for any given period of time, but sometimes for a pretty decently long time? Why would it stop? We see the moon. They actually have like different times of the moon throughout the year, like the crescent. Okay, so in the crescent moon, and you could see it during the day, how come the empty space in the moon is blue? How come stars have been photographed through the crescent? That's what the Muslim symbol is. Being able to see the star through the crescent moon. You know, there's symbolism in that. But why is it blue? How come we can see the outline of it, but it's still blue? No way while you are saying the sky is just a giant TV. Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? And it's just a giant TV in a technology we're not there yet. Indestructible by our standards TV screen. I mean, Operation Fishbowl is pretty unique, where the United States and Russia shot a bunch of fucking rockets up into the sky so they could test it, so they could test the bombs to see how the radiation then fell out all over the people afterward. Or were they trying to break through? Oi! We flat earthing again. So stupid. You would think if I was wrong, one, I don't understand why it bothers people so much that people don't believe. Like, everybody acts like they have stock in roundearth.com and shit. And if you don't believe in the round earth, that they lose money. Like, it's crazy that people get so angry about it. It's not the flat earthers that are killing people. It's not the flat earthers that are in the mass shootings and shit. It's not the flat earthers that are constantly raping children. It's not the flat earthers committing genocide. But these are the things that make you upset. Computers are just insane amounts of zeros and ones that have patterns. We made them bulky at first So we went to China where they make things really small, like writing on rice, and they made them small. Somebody type that out.
So racist.
It's not racist, it's just dumb. How's it racist?
Writing on rice.
No, there's there's pictures of Chinese people writing like a whole dissertation on a piece of rice. It's crazy how they what they've been able to do. But it's just stupid. Wouldn't there be more glitches in the sky? Well, how do you know there's not? I know I've personally seen a glitch in the sky. Thanks for the setup. So back in 2002, 2003, something like that, I was up in Northern California, in the mountains of Willits County, up in the Emerald Triangle, where people grow copious amounts of marijuana. And when you get out into the mountains, there's just no city light from anywhere. There's no big cities even around, let alone, like Willits itself is this small little town. There's no light interference when you're out there. So I was up on the mountain. It was my friend's mountain, and he was my friend to a degree, whatever. More of an acquaintance than anything, but still. I was up there on the mountain for the season, and they were building a place for his mom or something like that, whatever, up on the mountain. A place for mom. And so his whole family was up there for some reason that night. And he had like 7 kids. His wife was from Thailand or some shit, and they had like 7 kids. His mom was there, his brother was there, his brother's wife was there. Me and another one of the guys that worked on the mountain were there. Like there was at least 12, 13 people there. And back then, I was quite the pillhead. And weed smoker and drinker and just straight up fucking idiot, 20-something, 21, 22-year-old, partied way too hard kind of guy. So one night, I get all fucking wasted and I pass out. And I wake up at like 3 a.m. because I got to piss. And mountain, everywhere is a bathroom. There is a toilet that was set up, but it wasn't the most fun thing to use. And being a guy, you could just stand there and pee and you'd be fine. So I'm standing there taking a piss, and I look up and I see what my head tells me, because I don't have any frame of reference for this. Drones haven't been invented yet, at least that we know of. I didn't immediately, the idea that it was a UFO just didn't make any sense, because it was a star and it was going like this. It was just going crazy. It was going, all over. And I just thought, well, if anything's inside that, the brains would be being scrambled, just going left and right, up and down, all these different directions. It looks like when you grab your mouse, or you grab the mouse for the computer and you move it all around, and the little arrow thing goes all over the screen. That's what it looked like. And I just thought, that looks like a broken star. That was the only thing I could come up with. It looks like a broken star. And it was staying within, a square area, basically like a square here. But it was just going, it was just going all over the place, right? And so I'm like, I must be fucked up. I mean, I went and I woke everyone up. I'm like, you guys, you got to see this. This is crazy. You got to see this. And everybody's mad at me. But I'm like, I know you're mad, but you got to see this. So everybody comes out and they all look up and they verify that I am seeing this thing. It's not just me hallucinating or some shit. So I sit there and I watch, and you know, some people see it now, okay, whatever, and go back to bed. Some people stay up for 10, 15 minutes and then they go back to bed. I grab my lawn chair, I grab my bowl, my bag, and I just sit out there and I watch. And I watch as for the next couple hours, the stars pass through their normal motions, you know. But this star stayed in the exact same area while moving all around. And then there's that point at like 6 in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, before the sun comes up, where it goes from being black outside to like a bluish color. And that only lasts for like 20 minutes, a half hour or whatever, but it's before the sun comes up. It's still dark, it's still nighttime. It's just blue. It's weird. It's like there's a blue light on. And the sky has started to sort of lighten up. Well, once the sky started to lighten up, I noticed that the square that the star was in stayed like a shade darker than the sky around it. It still lit up, but it was just, I could see the defined square that the star was staying in. And I just thought it was such a strange thing, but, you know, this is 2002 or 3. There's very little internet. And the idea of you know, flat earth, all that's not even close. And me back then, I wouldn't have accepted it anyway, because I would always say, oh, you believe the Bible? That's what people, you know, wrote when they thought the earth was flat. Like, I always thought the idea of flat earth was directly associated with the Bible. And so I just stayed away from it. And so when this thing happened, I didn't have, like, this wasn't, when people start talking about UFOs, oh yeah, well, at one time I saw a broken star. Like, that's just not something that comes up. And so I put it away. And then it wasn't until 2015 or so, when 2015 when I got hurt, I had surgery that day. And I was all hopped up on goofballs. And, you know, opiates always, you know, made it so it was like I got energy from them. It made it difficult for me to sleep. So I stumble across Under the Dome, the Mark Sargent documentary series. It's like a 12-part, half-hour documentary each time. And somebody put it all together into one cohesive one. So I didn't, basically, you don't have to just skip through. So it's just all the episodes. So me, I'm thinking, because, you know, when I'm hopped up on the goofballs, I'm very, very sure of myself. I'm like, you know what? I can do this. I can debunk this bullshit. I'm sick of this flat earth stuff taking off like it is. And so I went to go watch it. And within 10 minutes, I knew I was fucked. I was like, oh man, what the fuck? Something isn't right here. So I ended up watching the whole thing. And it ended at like, I got done at like 1:30 in the morning. But I noticed, because at the end of each video, he used to put his phone number. And he said, if, you know, anybody wants to talk, call. And I noticed his phone number was a 757. So I was like, oh, that's California. There's a good chance he's up. It's only 1:30 here. It's 1:30 here, so it's only what? 10:30 there? 11:30, whatever. No, 11, something like that. I don't remember the exact time, but I knew it wasn't super late. And I just thought, you know, if he's like me, he turns his phone off at night. So, you know, you don't put your fucking phone number at the end of your YouTube video if you don't want people calling you. So I figured I'd give him a call. And surprisingly, he answered. And we talked for a minute, and I was like, do people call you all the time? He's like, no, you'd be surprised. Like, I never get calls. You're one of the first. You're one of the few. And he was telling me that he was excited because the next day he was scheduled to do Coast to Coast, the radio show Coast to Coast. And so we talked, and then at one point I was like, oh yeah, let me tell you this story. It just popped in my head. And I told him the story, and then when I was done at the end, he was like, at the same time, we were both like, holy crap, I saw the dome. He saw the dome. Like, that's what, you know. And that was the first time that made sense to me. That I clearly saw the panel. Something was wrong with that panel. And of course, as it got light, everything got light, and it just all went away. It all faded. And who's to say, like, I didn't stand there and keep watching back then to see if orbs showed up. I mean, I can testify to orbs. And when I was doing garage doors, one day, towards the end of my training ride-along phase, I was riding with my boss, who was a year younger than me, but like way more mature than me. And we used to talk about shit all the time. And he, like, at one point, he was like, man, you need to, you know, connect your Facebook page. You need to say you work here so you can get people. And I was like, dude, you don't want your customers to come to my Facebook page and see all the shit I post. And he was like, oh yeah, you're right. But I would talk to him about the Jays. I would talk to him about chemtrails. I was real big into chemtrails back then. This was 2015 when chemtrails were the worst. 14, 15, 16, chemtrails were the absolute worst. And so it was a really clear day that day. And I was pointing it out to him, like, you see, where are all the planes that I normally point out to you? Where are all the lines that we normally see at this time? And he was like, yeah, that is kind of fucking weird. So we went way out to, you know, we were out in way Westland area, and we were working on this garage, and I had to run out to the truck to grab something. And as I did, I saw this just the thickest fucking chemtrail. The first one, of course. And back then it used to seem like they would lay first one, a real thick one, as like the guideline, and then a bunch of other ones would follow. And so this really thick line gets laid. And I'm like, dude, come check this out. You know, this is going to be the guideline. And you could already see that other lines were coming. And he was like, that's kind of weird. But as we're looking, 3 white orbs appear around that thick one. And you can see them flying through it, in and out. And they made the standard triangle thing, and they like formed a triangle around it, and they spun around it. And it was just really weird. And he was standing there, and I was like, you see this shit, right? And he's like, holy, you know, I fucking see it. Yes, I do. And then the homeowner actually came out, and he saw it too. And then, you know, Jeff was always busy, you know, business. So he was like, all right, man, come on, let's get back to work. So we had to get back to work. So I couldn't just sit there and watch it and see what happened. Something I really, really wanted to do. But like I've personally seen too much for people to tell me, you know, the narrative we're given is true. The narrative we're giving, nothing in the narrative we're given fits those two things. Let's see. Do-do-do. 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 Wow. You guys are really going at it. Imagine thinking submarines aren't real. Imagine being accepting that they are with the no evidence that's available. You guys just don't understand the relationship I have with my wife. And that my wife is not the one that jumps on bandwagons. And when I first started saying the submarines thing, she was like, come on, like, that's a stretch. I can't be with you on this one. And I was like, good. Let's try to, like, and the thing is, I didn't start by just They're fake. They're fake, and that's it. I said, you know, I started by trying to prove their existence. I started by trying to find actual proof to back up the claim.
Something that, though. You probably looked something
No.
for something else.
No, one day I was sitting there watching something or whatever, and it just popped in my head. Like, I wonder if, you know, just thinking about it. Like, you know, this whole thing's kind of weird. You know, the whole concept is strange when you think about it. Okay. Have you not been paying attention to CERN lately? I mean, CERN, do you believe in CERN? You think that in the 50s, I think, where the CERN was first, that they were able to drill. CERN at its deepest point is 575 feet below the earth. You think that all of these countries signed these huge treaties that allow this underground network to even be created to begin with? CERN is just a boogeyman bunch of bullshit for us to fall for. Have you ever seen it? CERN looks like a AA battery with a bunch of foil and funny shit on, but it's like main structure looks like a AA battery. And when you look at all the pictures that are available of CERN, you start just seeing more of those patterns like you do when it comes to, you know, space travel and shit. I mean, whenever you see CERN graphics, for some reason, all this money goes into CERN, and the graphics they provide us look like Atari shit. Beep, beep, beep. It's like a little, you know, it's embarrassing how silly it is. And then when you think about what they say, okay, so they're able to separate the molecules, the atoms from this thing they spin them around and then things separate, and then they funnel this atoms and this, like, it's the electrons into this way and the protons into, come on. And then they fire protons at each other. Like, it's really dumb. Oh, well, it's because there's magnets all along the walls and shit. The best thing about CERN is that it's always broken. And people will say, well, what about that tunnel opening ceremony they did? Yeah, well, think about it. What, you think you're the only one that would see what they did and think, wow, that's fucking weird? No, they knew exactly what they were doing. Why would they do all that goofy satanic shit to begin with, knowing that it's going to get out there and people are going to be like, oh, it's just silly. Oh, the CERN logo is 666. And I mean, you just see this. It's all just goofy bullshit breadcrumbs for you to follow. I saw a plane land, but was frozen in time and made no noise. Had blinking lights. My soul almost fell out of my body. I didn't even feel real at that moment. And who knows what was happening around you? There was a test that someone did with a powerful laser. They shot miles away, and the lasers go up in altitude from where they shot and showed it was curved. Yeah, that makes sense. There was a test that this is what this person said. There was a test that someone did with powerful lasers that they shot miles away, and the lasers will go up in altitude from where it started, showing it was curved. Why would the lasers go up in altitude? If anything, the laser would keep going and then be stopped by the curvature. Lasers don't bend. Laser isn't going to bend over the curvature.
I mean, it can with a mirror.
The laser would have to go straight through. The laser would go to a certain point where it either fell off or it went out into space. But that's silly. Cue X-Files music. The Earth was curved. Why don't planes fly into space? Right. I mean, there's so much evidence against. Like, there's not a video that's 200 proofs the earth is round. The idea that somebody could put together 200 separate things that prove the earth is not a spinning ball flying through space, that in itself is pretty astronomical. So you think China invented the transistor? Oh, they're really small. When planes fly off the edge, then they obviously don't know how gravitational pull works. Oh, right. The gravitational pull is now keeping the planes from... What? So gravity, again, it just shows its incredible intelligence that it knows to pull the plane slightly down, but not all the way down. Yeah, that makes sense, dude. You're making all the sense. A typical answer from a glober. They can't even explain the inconsistencies of gravity, so they don't even try. There's nothing, it's dumb. Gravity, every proof of gravity is actually buoyancy and density. Density and buoyancy cover everything you say when it comes to gravity. Well, why does the lighter fall when you drop it? Because it's heavier than the earth around, or than the air around it. Well, why doesn't it fly up? Why does it go down? Again, why would it go up? That would require thrust. It does go up until the amount of thrust you put behind it runs out, and then it falls down. The Greeks figured this out using two wells. Yeah, that's called Ares failure, and it was done many, many times, and it fails. It's a failure. All of the experiments that were ever done to prove the earth is round, they're failures. But the biggest evidence to me that the earth is not a spinning ball flying through space is the fact that it's 2025 and we still ask this question without a real answer. Why hasn't the system, knowing just how many people actually believe the earth is flat, done something about it? Why haven't they gotten Eric Dubay to come in and lay out all of his evidence and then have their system systematically debunk things, fly him up in the sky, show him it? Why don't they do that shit? Why do they fake so much? Why are there so many videos of NASA bullshit glitching out? You know, fucking up, where they do the little, look, we're going to do a somersault in the air, and you can see the wire harness they're wearing. Why does a video called "A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon" exist? Which shows that the Apollo astronauts, when they were on their way to the moon, it supposedly takes 3 days to get to the moon. The second day they were supposedly on their way to the moon, footage shows them faking the Earth from a distance shot by blacking out all the lights and looking out a round window, but from really far back in the hull, so it looks like it's in space. Like, it's, if you think it's real, just look up "A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon." Footage existed. Like, the next day they were supposedly talking to the president on the phone. They were supposedly walking on the moon. If they were still in low Earth orbit on day 2, they weren't at the moon on day 3. That's how sundials were made, because they only would work on a not curved Earth. Exactly. A not curved Earth that's fucking stationary, nothing changes. I mean, just the whole idea of the zodiac. If everything is moving away from each other, then none of that shit would be the same. We wouldn't have the same star patterns and all that shit every single year. Nothing would be, like, if you think about the fact that they can tell you what time the sun's going to set 10 years from today. 10 years from Tuesday, or from March 29th, February, 2nd. They can tell you what time it's going to set on February 22nd, 2029. And they'll be right. That's not how nature works. That would be like if Old Faithful not only went off at the same time every day, but shot the exact same amount of water out, and all of the droplets landed in the exact same place every single time. Please explain because if I dropped a ball, it would fall at the same speed every time unless I threw it harder so please explain what you think is inconsistent. What does that have to do? Why would that have to? I don't understand that argument. First of all, you can't see that, right? You don't see how fast things fall. But secondly, depending on the aerodynamics of things and how high you drop it, something that has more resistance, something that's lighter with more resistance is going to fall a lot slower than something that's heavy. I mean, it's stupid, but when the whole notion of like a force pulling down on the earth, on everything, I love this argument because I believe I'm a walking debunk of that, and nobody ever addresses this. Every once in a while, some dumbass will say it's static electricity, and you go, okay, so gravity knows that static electricity is working in this scenario where my hair continues to stand up. No force pulling my hair down. But that's because gravity knows that static electricity is doing that. But see, this is this thing that we are now in this huge debate talking about some bullshit that we can't prove. When it comes to the shape of the earth, we cannot prove any of it. You can't prove it's round, just like I can't prove it's not round because I don't have access to the stuff, neither do you. The day one of us gets a plane that's allowed to fly up high enough where we either could or don't see there's just more than enough evidence out there that it's not round. But still, it's such a doesn't matter thing. It really doesn't matter. You're a troll, fake, dumb. So many times you keep spewing nonsense to facts. Not worth my time. There you go. If the earth was flat, why would we have different time zones? Again, this is where having the visual aids make a big difference. But because the light is focused, it's closer. Like you seem to think that it's some sort of like solar system, but instead of it being a round planet, you think it's like a frisbee that's still flying around the sun. And I mean, it's stupid. If anything, if that was true, we wouldn't have time zones because the light would shine equally on the face of the earth at all times. It wouldn't be a focused light. It's obviously much closer than you think it is. But if you were to take the best example is when people take a flashlight and they hold it over a flat earth map, and you can see how the light shines where it's supposed to, and where it's not supposed to, it's dark, and you can move it all around, and it makes sense. Reason is important. The way people come to their conclusion says, well, things increase in speed when falling. Absolutely. Can't trust a word you say. You literally made no harm. I've disproved all your points. The burden of proof is on you. What inconsistent? Oh, Jesus Christ. We see it here in the comments, and literally the amount of videos out there, and y'all flat earthers just go CGI Hollywood because it's admittedly CGI in Hollywood. Like this just shows you the ignorance that exists. Right? All the pictures that you see of Earth and all those pretty star pictures, nebula pictures and all that shit, those are artists' renditions of data. The telescopes that take those supposedly take them in infrared. The James Webb Space Telescope, is the biggest bunch of bullshit they've sold us in a long time.
Pictures are so pretty though.
Right, because an artist does them or a computer does them, but they're not real pictures. It's not like there's film and they're like, say cheese, and they take a picture.
There's an absence of light in space, so you can't use a camera. I'm waiting for the astronauts to start showing selfies in space, though. That's going to be funny. Because cameras supposedly can't work in space.
Well, special cameras can. But, I mean, it's all just dumb. It's all so stupid.
Well, no, it's got to be, you know, if it's
obviously
infrared, you know, it's a more of a infrared, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a camera,
it's just data. It's zeros and ones. Yeah, it's like a spreadsheet that somebody then looks at and says, okay, let's paint it like this. Let's make it look like that. You can look at the Big Blue Marble series that NASA put out, where they supposedly took a picture of the Earth from like the same spot every year over a whatever period of time. And it's been like
how did they stay still in space long enough to...
That's one of my favorite things is couple years ago there was this video that went viral about dark side of the moon shown or whatever, and supposedly it's this satellite that is so far from the Earth that the moon passes in front of it, and it's like they take like one picture it's like over a 3-day period or something where the moon moves across. And the idea that this satellite is just sitting there floating out in space somewhere, staying perfectly still.
The planets are in a pattern.
The planets are moving around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour.
In their own lane. Everything in between the planets is just willy-nilly floating around.
It's
but
dead space.
In that lane,
right.
It's going in that.
67,000 miles per hour, they say that the Earth goes around the sun. I mean, it's all just so stupid. I could sit here and talk about the James Webb Space Telescope forever. And it's so stupid. The idea that the whole Lagrange point thing, 1770s or whatever, this Lagrange guy figures out that planets, like my wife will say, well, yeah, math, that's math, but it's impossible math. You have no idea, like anything that somebody supposedly is 1700 that he mathed the Lagrange points. Well, how the fuck does he know how giant balls well beyond our comprehension of size floating around in a vacuum? How would he know anything about how those things actually work and what their makeup is? And like, it's all ridiculous. It's literally ridiculous nonsense to think about that.
I remember asking this, it was our science teacher. He was young. We were learning about space and they were telling us the different composition of the planets. I remember asking him, well, if we've never been to Jupiter, how do we know what it's made of?
Through lasers. Through scans.
Well, no, back then it wasn't lasers. I was a kid.
Yeah, that was black and white.
So, I don't remember what their answer was, but I whatever it was, made me just quietly to myself sit there and just say, bullshit. Bullshit.
The International Space Station doesn't exist. No, it's stupid. It's stupid. That's the problem is until you understand how stupid it is, you'll believe it. You'll just believe that, no, we don't have anti-gravity jet boosters or anything. No, the International Space Station, something the size of 3 football fields, is perpetually falling into the Earth's rotation at 17,500 miles per hour. And all they need is some jet boosts every once in a while to lift it up a little bit. Like, that you would believe that. I mean, it's like insulting. It's really, really dumb. Buoyancy, aka density, at not zero gravity. I mean, all countries signed the Antarctic Treaty, so it's not too far. I mean, that's the truth. The Antarctic Treaty, though, is different than the land rights in their own place. Like, the Antarctic Treaty is out of sight, out of mind. The idea that they're all working underneath the ground together is ridiculous. What do y'all think of plasma guns? I think they've probably had that shit for a really long time. Earth is spinning ball. I gotta show him. If the earth is flat, what is the horizon? Why can't I see the other side of it? Right, because your human eyes don't have limitations. What's even funnier, though, is that you have limitations to your view. They say you can only see about 3 miles on the clearest of days. So how far do you think you can see into space? You think you could see Saturn a giggity million miles away just because you have a magical, magnifying glass? You don't have infinite vision. Do you not have common sense? Oh, wait, dumb question. Right. I mean, it's just silly. If I go outside right now and I go stand in the center of the street and I look down the road, it's going to look like everything gets smaller and comes together. It doesn't really, though. You know that, right? Like if you're standing in a hallway and it's a long hallway and you look down, everything comes together and gets smaller, but you can walk down that hallway and it's not actually smaller, right? It's called perspective. But the thing is, it's like it doesn't matter what gets brought up to you. You want to believe it, so you will. You just keep going from one thing to the next thing without actually addressing what's being said to you. The NASA live stream could just be AI generated. Could be the AI was developed before it was released to the public. Of course it was. ChatGPT is where all our history books come from. An early version of ChatGPT. Everything they tell us is just old shit. The best example is the stealth technology. If you're my age, you remember when or older, like some of us, when they introduced stealth technology, it was like fanfare. It was like, It was like this huge deal. The stealth aircraft. Look at what America is capable of. Right. 1989, boy, America's gonna win Desert Storm because we have stealth technology, and like you guys can't.
They came out with the car, the stealth.
Right. You guys don't really get it because that hasn't happened in any other. If you're young, you don't get it. You can't imagine that the news, the media, everything is all gung ho about a fucking military planes. Like it's just silly to think about nowadays. And that's probably the last vestige of that time. Where they used to do that all the time. They used to try to build that American spirit by showing the warplanes and shit we're really good at, right?
Tough.
We're tough. We're badass. But they gave it to us in 1989. They had it as early as the 40s and some say the 30s. Meaning at the very least, we're 50 years behind what they actually have. And it's probably more like 150 years. But they have technology and shit that they let it out as time progresses, and they let us have more and more, and it's all carefully crafted and weighed against this and weighed just to make sure that they fucked up with the internet. They thought that they were going to give us, because they're stupid. I can't tell you this enough. Bread's stupid. The keeping it all in the family for such a long time has created stupid people, and they just, they get by on their power, but they're stupid. They say things like, if you look into Israel, that's going to demonize Israel. Well, why would it demonize Israel if you were doing good things? Like, but they in their heads think, yeah, this is going to be good. We'll tell them if they do this, it will demonize us. They actually thought that was a good thing to say. And I think the same sort of mentality went into giving us the internet, thinking, oh, this will be a way we can keep track of them. You know, they're never going to let us put cameras in every phone or in every home, which so many of us do now. So many of us have cameras all over our houses, wired to a fucking cloud. That, oh, don't worry, it's safe. It's secure. They tell you it is.
And then everybody's just floored when their phone starts giving them ads for something they were just talking about but have never looked up on their phone. Oh my gosh, I was just talking about this. How'd they know?
Right.
I don't know. Those cameras that are perfectly safe, maybe have something to do with it.
But most of us aren't there yet. You know, that took a minute. So what a better way to keep track of everybody than let's give them this internet that we can track their searches and we can, you know, but they didn't think me. They didn't think people like me would exist.
Well,
they didn't.
They did. They thought that they could direct that traffic easily enough.
I don't think they did. I think it was something that they were kind of shocked by, which is why for so many years you were able to get success. Like it wasn't until they caught on and figured out, oh shit, we need to do this. Like they used to think that they could just get away with fake trolls. And then they had to start putting out people like Todd, and they had to start letting other people, you know, because they needed to control the narrative. But those first, you know, in 2006, you used to be able to look up so many crazy conspiracy videos on YouTube. That's where I saw so much shit. You know, loose changes and all these different viewpoints and all this shit. And then nowadays, good luck finding it. You're too slow, you're assuming the humans are capable of that. I've seen many videos, flat earth from up high, no stars also. I mean, there shouldn't be any of them. Every NASA video or every official video shouldn't use a GoPro lens. They shouldn't manufacture a curvature if there is one. And it's all really, it's so many simple things. Like it's one of the most brilliant things they've done is convinced everybody that the conspiracy is this super complicated thing that your dumb ass isn't capable of figuring out. When the reality is, it's all really, really obvious. And you're a fantastic truth barometer. You know when you're being bullshitted. You've just been programmed to override that and believe what you're supposed to because you don't want to get made fun of. You don't want to be trolled. You don't want to have people say mean things to you. You know, it's hard enough in this world. You're not going to ostracize yourself and make yourself the pariah, are you? No, you're going to say what you need to say. If that wasn't the case, then all you dumbass Christians would be demanding that Christianity, Catholicism, it's all the same, that they rid themselves of these pedos, that all the pedos that are associated with religion are not only held accountable, but held to the highest fucking standards. But you don't want to say that because, well, you know, your grandma's going to get mad. Y'all, I'm trying to understand. Let's start that way. You cannot admit you've been lied to. That's the first stage of awakening called cognitive dissonance. It's part of the process and it sucks. Flat earther. Do you guys ever hear me say I'm a flat earther? Do you guys ever hear me say I believe the earth?
You're a Democrat.
Right. I believe the earth is flat. Never do I say that shit, yet you guys put those labels on me.
Either A or B.
And you have to argue something. You can't argue against what I say. You have to create the narrative that you can argue against. And when you tell yourself that it's the same exact solar system situation, except everything else is a round ball and our planet is a frisbee. Like, that's just stupid. I can prove the earth is round. I just can't prove it in a chat. Convenient. I'm not a marble in space believer, if that's what you mean. Exactly. Oh, what would the pros and cons be about lying to us about the solar system? Control. The pros and cons. If you believe that you live on a round ball flying through space, somewhere in your head you have trauma. You've just overridden it. Like, we don't think about what we do to children, right? But we tell children, here, play with these dinosaurs. Look at all these are cool dinosaurs, big dinosaurs. And then eventually the kid's like, well, what happened to the dinosaurs, Mom? And you go, oh, well, a giant rock fell out of the sky and wiped everything out. And the kid's like, well, can another rock fall out of the sky and wipe us out? And you go, oh, well, I mean, yes, it could, but it's not going to happen ever, buddy. We won't let it happen. And the kid's like, oh, okay. But you don't understand what you're doing to that kid. You just introduced the idea of global extinction to a child. Do you think that child can wrap their head around that? Can wrap their head around the fact that, oh, but it's it's billions of years off, even though, according to the narrative, we're actually long overdue for a rock to fall out of the sky and wipe everything out. We just don't, the trauma that's associated with that, we've dealt with it ourselves. We've had it for such a long time that we forget the trauma it causes. But it's so traumatic, and everybody walks around. You might not think about it in the forefront of your mind, but it's always in the background, especially if you happen to see something about dinosaurs or something like that, that you're reminded that at any point we could all just be wiped out by a rock falling from the sky. So there's that. There's also now this belief that rocks can fall from the sky. So at any point, one of us, they could drop a bomb somewhere and just say it was a rock that fell out of the sky. Would you know the difference? The other thing is, if we decide, if we get told that it's not, like if I say we're actually in a manufactured structure, we're not on a ball flying through space, we're on a manufactured structure with an indestructible dome, what's the first question that comes to mind? The unifying question. The one that everybody from every culture, every religion, every background, every race, what's the same question that everybody asks when you hear that? Yeah? Well, who built it? It's a unifying concept. It makes us realize that, holy shit, we are the prisoners. We're the slaves. And who has us in prison and we didn't even know we were in prison? Who did this to us? And so, it keeps us from unifying. It creates fear. It creates control. There's a lot of benefits to it. There have been lots of hidden tunnels, so it's very possible, and I'm inclined to believe it. Don't know what we're talking about. Oh, Jesus. You're right, the troll is back, because he's going to say something that matters. Oh, I was trying to explain to you, the horizon is... Oh, Jesus Christ. The horizon is the space between the beginning and the end of your vision. Right. It's not fucking real. There are so many videos out there that show you boats that supposedly go over the horizon, you can't see them anymore, can be brought back into your vision using a camera that can zoom farther than you can see. But you don't want to acknowledge that. You don't want to see that like the evidence is everywhere. You're getting desperate, starting to manipulate arguments. There you go. Don't add a word now. There you go. It's because of the horizon and the definition I gave you. You didn't answer my question. Do people with worse vision have closer horizons because your vision logic makes no... Do you not understand it's called perspective? Your eyes have limitation? Like, seriously. Yes, people with worse vision can't see as far. Is that a question you just asked? Individual perspective. You've been lied to. You're still trying to defend defenseless argument. While you are trying to just say that I've been lied to when I'm using logic. You're not. You're using information, the narrative, and what you've been taught in school. You're not thinking for yourself whether you realize it or not. Right, like the guy that told me because I don't believe in the Bible, I'm just a sheep following the herd. What are you talking about? What herd is that? I'm not aware of this herd. I'd love to find that herd. I'm an 8th grade dropout. I barely listen to school, just visual facts. Okay, so you're saying you don't have any information. You just talk. You think that human eyes can see indefinitely. And I don't even know where to go with that. That's something really easily disproven and very much common sense. You know, airplanes fly super high, so high that they look like they're tiny little miniature, like they're a seed flying through the sky. Do you really think the airplane is smaller? Or do you think it's possible that your eyes have limitations? Stop thinking for yourself, my dear. It's too down there. Smarter people who have done them. Yep, that's what it is. I should stop thinking for myself because there are smarter people out there who have already done it. So you should just follow the lead. Gosh, that doesn't sound like an Israeli. We see it sink as it appears, but that's not a curve. You can literally let that go, and you claim to use logic. Your mind is stuck, and you have yet to open it, therefore won't learn. And the horizon actually rises to your viewpoint. No matter how high you go, the horizon rises up to meet you. It's in the same spot. It's always in the same spot. On a ball, the higher you go, the lower the horizon would be. But see, again, this is the crazy thing is they have you, they have us, they have this conversation not talking about the genocide that's taking place, not talking about the relentless pedophilia that takes place, not addressing the J control of the narrative. They have you arguing over, an argument that you can't prove either way. You personally, you have nothing that you can do to prove it. Like we can't, neither one of us have a plane that can fly up and definitively see. I know we were told that astronauts were stuck in space on the ISS for like 9 months. And then they finally came home where they got inside of a capsule that is teardrop shaped. It's metal. And they got inside it while attached to the ISS. And then the ISS lets it go and it falls down to Earth. And eventually the parachute's open and it comes down slowly. Which, again, just the thought of falling, and then parachutes opening and you go, woof. Like that would just wreck your fucking body. But let's not look at that. It took them 17 hours to fall to Earth. It took 17 hours to fall to the Earth. All that gravitational pull. 17 hours.
How come nobody's really heard from them since?
Yeah, that story's disappeared for sure, hasn't it?
Shouldn't Shouldn't we be hearing all kinds of? Shouldn't they be parading them in front of media?
Look at this
We
dumbass.
saw this and we saw that, and
They never do. They just happen to have enough food supplies to last 9 months when they thought they were only going to be there for a week. They had fresh fruit and vegetables daily.
Yep.
Ow. We don't ask those questions. But you got to love that this guy's so mad. He's using capital letters now. He's yelling. I'm going to yell. So if it's not a curve, wouldn't the boat just get really small instead of sinking? It doesn't sink into anything. It goes away. Everything gets really, really small. And then if you zoom in on it with a Nokia 900 camera, it pulls it in. Here, I'll show you. What were we saying? Oh, I got to finish this. I'm sorry. What were you saying? Let's finish this. This is the rabbi's speech. I can't believe we got away from it. Obviously, we did because of this bullshit. Ready?
Of service and sacrifice.
Let's just restart it.
Let us pray. Almighty God, your prophet Jeremiah walked the streets of Jerusalem and blessed its inhabitants with the Hebrew words, Baruch HaGever Asher Yiftach BaHashem.
What an ugly language.
Blessed is the one who trusts in God. Thousands of years later, this great nation, which adopted these words as its motto, "In God we trust,"
wasn't thousands of years
stands
later.
at a moment of historic opportunity. Americans are searching for meaning. Our merciful Father, help us rise to meet this moment.
Martha.
Bless President Donald J. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance with the strength and courage to choose the right and the good. Unite us around our foundational biblical values of life and liberty, of service and sacrifice, and especially of faith and morality, which George Washington called the indispensable supports of American prosperity. Guide our schools and college campuses, which have been experiencing such unrest, to inspire the next generation to pair progress with purpose.
Holy shit. This is all about them.
At our presidents.
Right. Because, you know, those college campuses where the people are protesting Israel, the foreign countries, genocide of another foreign country. Holy shit. The arrogance of these fucking piece of shit people, man.
Knowledge with wisdom and truth with virtue.
Oh, yeah, because there's no truth.
Hear the cry of the hostages.
Oh, my God.
Both American and Israeli.
Oh, my
whose
God.
pain our president so acutely feels.
Why would so much Israeli? That's that presidential address is about Israelis. Imagine if it was anyone else. Imagine if a Chinese guy got up and was like, "Oh, bless China," and blah blah.
We are so thankful for the 3 young women who yesterday returned home.
This is the presidential nomination.
The next 4 years brings peace to Israel and throughout the Middle East.
Why would that? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm crazy, right? I'm crazy. I'm the one that's not focused in the right direction. I should be focused in the 30 million, 30 million illegal immigrants that are here and working and not being taxed for it. Right, Scorpion? Right? This isn't a big deal here. This isn't terrifying.
Almighty God, grant all Americans the opportunity to realize our shared dream of a life filled with peace and plenty, health and happiness, compassion and contribution.
Our shared dream. Who is our? Our shared dream? You mean the Americans and the Israelis?
Stir within us the confidence to rise to this moment. For while we trust in God, God's trust is in us, the American people. America is called to greatness, to be a beacon of light and a mover of history. May our nation merit the fulfillment of Jeremiah's blessing.
Oh my God.
That like a tree planted by water, we shall not cease to bear fruit. May all of humanity experience your love and your blessing. May it be thy will, and let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Sweet talk us, like we're lovers.
But at the same time, he's threatening us.
Right.
You know, it's a threat. You know, this is God's stuff here. You want to obey your God, right? Oh man, that was even worse. I'm actually surprised. That one was worse. I didn't realize that it would be worse. Look at this inauguration. Look at how many people are at this one. Look at how big this one is.
Eternal God.
This is Trump's first. Oh fuck. Trump's
This
first inauguration.
$3,300 benefit card is what everyone on Medicare is rushing to claim right now, because it can.
Bless President Donald. Eternal God.
Eternal God this time, not Almighty.
President Donald J. Trump and America, our great nation. Guide us to remember the words of the psalmist, who may dwell on your holy mountain, one who does what is right and speaks the truth, who knows that when you eat the labor of your hands, you are praiseworthy, that he who sows in tears shall reap in joy, because the freedoms we enjoy are not granted in perpetuity, but must be reclaimed by each generation.
Your freedom.
As our ancestors have planted for us, so we must plant for others. While it is not for us to complete the task, neither are we free to desist from them.
I mean, when you look at what Israel does in the next 4 years and then what, like, this is really prophetic.
Dispense justice for the needy and the orphan, for they have no one but their fellow citizens. And because a nation's wealth is measured by her values and not by her vaults, bless all of our allies around the world who share our beliefs. By the rivers of Babylon, we wept as we remembered Zion. If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, may my right hand forget its skill. The doer of all these shall never falter. May the days come soon when justice will dwell in the wilderness and righteousness will abide in the fertile fields, and the work of righteousness will be peace, quietness, and confidence forever. Amen.
What the fuck? May I, if I forget ye old Jerusalem, may I forget the use of my right hand, my skills. I mean, it's, they don't hide it from you. They don't hide this shit from you. And this is the stuff where, while you're fucking distracted by, you know, the earth shape argument, this is what's happening. That first guy was talking all about Israel and how, you know, America and Israel are you know, one. All those American hostages that exist, huh? There's so many American hostages. Funny how every single time those hostages are released, they still have their fat jowls, they're tan. They don't look like they've been suffering at all. They're fat, you know. They're not all skinny. And look at the difference between Israeli hostages being released and the Palestinians that finally get released. You have all these pictures. You have pictures of an Israeli kissing the hostages or the Watch this. Wounded Rabbi Israel Goldstein. Oh God, that was such fake bullshit. What was I just about to look up? Fuck. Ah, fuck. Fuck. Forgot what I was gonna say. I mean, this is just fucking insane. This is insane. You know, oh, the hostages being released. I was talking about the hostages being released and the video of the hostages being released. Oh, yeah, okay. Let's see. That's what it was. Israeli hostage kisses Hamas.
In response to those trying to bring us down, the first heavenly order was to equip Medicare Americans with a spending card.
God. This is what you do, right? You kiss your hostage takers, right? Right? That's what you do. Well, they stand there in their masks. The families are reacting. They're so happy. Right? It's amazing how these Hamas guys, we never know who they are. They have their masks on. Yep, it's Stockholm Syndrome. That's what it is. That is the biggest bunch of bullshit ever. You've never seen that ever happen before. And yet, you see it all the time with these Israelis because it's Israelis underneath the masks. They've been spending time with family. They've been, you know, vacationing. They've been doing whatever. And they're happy. They're pulling it off. They kiss them. They hug them. It's all bullshit. Stockholm Syndrome is something that happens after a much longer time. But that's the fake bullshit because you'll never see a Stockholm Syndrome Hamas kissing his Israeli captor. That's for damn sure. You can find all kinds of videos like that, Matt. Remember, did you see how when I said there was a video of the Israeli kissing the Hamas, the dumb J first says that's a lie? And then when I pull it up, he goes, oh, well, no, it's Stockholm Syndrome then. But he was going to say I was just lying. This is how they operate. It's fucking revolutionary information for sure. Look it up there every single time hostages get released. There are videos of them. There was a video from the when they did the 100 hostages or whatever, where they were in the transport vehicle about to be taken to the exchange point, and they're all sitting there smiling. The one chick that they're hugging, they're shaking hands. The one chick salutes the guy. Like, this is all just fucking bullshit. The event that Stockholm came from, it happened right away. Like, yeah, you're so stupid. It's such a stupid excuse. It's such a dumb excuse. Show me some more videos of Israelis kissing fucking Palestinians. I mean, it's just such, you know, just insultingly stupid. That's just Stockholm syndrome. It's just Stockholm syndrome. So knowing what you know of Israel, to think that they're not either A, arresting all of those Hamas agents, B, following those Hamas agents back to where they were, and then taking that thing out. Like, it's all just stupid. There were no Israelis killed on October 7th, and there were no Israelis taken hostage. The entire thing was a fake narrative. It's fake. It's bullshit. I'm not really into the Palestine-Israel war. It's not a war. See, you obviously have enough of their information for you to call it a war. It's absolutely not a war. Think about when you play the game War with cards. What's actually considered war? It's only war when you guys have equal hands to start with. Then you put down the upside down card, then you put down one more, and whoever has the higher hand, then they win all the cards. That's war. You say war, and you put down the cards. That's not what we're experiencing. This is a genocide. So right off the bat, you're already wrong. To be honest, which is why I don't contribute. No, you contribute. You contribute way more than you realize. I'm more into Ukraine war, not some dumbass shit, and just let Russia take it if they surrender. Right. You're not smart enough to ask, why do we care about the Ukraine war? You're not smart enough to see that in the Israel situation, Israel is Russia, but the Palestinians aren't anywhere close to Ukraine. Ukraine has government, has military, has weapons out the ding ding. Apparently, little ass Ukraine, little ass fucking Kiev especially, where a bunch of Jays live or lived. See, prior to the totally unprovoked, unknown invasion of Ukraine, Israel was running 3 jumbo passenger jets nonstop over and over again from Kiev to Israel, just bringing anybody who wanted to come because they didn't know something was going to happen. They were just doing it. Oh, it's so stupid. If war doesn't look like the card game, then it's not. Yeah. What a stupid ass. Like, you really just prove that you don't understand what's being said? This isn't the conversation for you then. Nobody was saying that war looked like the card game, you dumbass. But hey, this is the same shit. We're going to get the same kind of shit here. So, as the U.S., we should just be the world's mitigator? Yeah, that's what it is. What a dumb-ass line of thinking. Like, this is the guy that thinks one of the biggest issues facing the United States is the fact that the 30 million illegal immigrants aren't being taxed for the work that they do. Yet the whole concept of, like, do you honestly think taxing people picking strawberries, 30 million people picking strawberries, is going to come anywhere close to $3.8 billion every year? No. And that's just the base. The base. Israel gets they're just guaranteed $3.8 billion a year. Money. Dollars. That turns into 15 billion shekels in their money. And that's just the U.S. Canada gives them $2 billion. Australia gives them $1.2 billion. There's a lot more money that goes to them. Tax for the work and paying for the visas because, visas make America money too. Yeah, we could stop giving Israel $3.8 billion plus all the other support. We have our 2 largest aircraft carriers in the whole American fleet that are stationed outside Israel right now. How much money do you think those things cost to run every single day? But see, you have to know more than what Trump and Fox News tells you for you to make these kinds of arguments, for you to have any sort of understanding here. To think that taxing 30 million under the table workers, where we get this 30 million number from is just silly anyway. But taxing 30 million under the table workers would net us more money than stopping giving Israel $3.8 billion plus every year. Like, that is just, like, where does that, how does that stupidity, how do you cross that stupidity? If you're not willing to see just flat out numbers with much less effort, with much less, not to mention it doesn't cost us the lives and all that shit of all those poor kids that are sent over there to do the bidding for the Israelis. Even if they don't die, they're the ones out there killing innocent people, and that fucks people up. The people that came back from Vietnam, they weren't coming back heroes. Even though we didn't see them as heroes, they didn't feel like heroes. They felt like shit because they knew what they had done. It's the amount of visas and undocumented pay is so much more of a con than good. What? Like, again, but you're not addressing the amount of money given to Israel. That's just the money given. That's not all the military aid and all the rest of the bullshit. Anytime they we need another $1 billion, and it just gets pushed right through the government. Oh, we're going to sell Israel $9 million, $15 million in weapons. Well, the thing is, they're just giving us our money back, which they don't even do, because that sale is then covered by other grants that are put aside to arm Israel, part of the memorandum of understanding, which, again, God, I wish I had actual intelligent people on here to argue against me, because you guys just don't know this shit. I don't know about that. Right, you don't. And you're talking like a dumbass American sheep who's saying what he's supposed to say. Why do you think the media, the president, everybody tells you to focus on the illegal Mexicans, those damn Mexicans, and not the Israelis that you paid to live and they fucking hate you? The Mexicans don't hate you. The Israelis hate you on a fundamental level that you can't understand, kind of hate you. It doesn't matter how good you are or what you do for them. They hate you. You're just a cattle. You're a cattle who doesn't think that it's a cattle. And can you imagine how frustrating that would be? Having this cattle that keeps pushing its way into the house and trying to eat at your dinner table and all that shit, thinking it has a say in how things happen around here. The cattle don't have any say. Stupid cattle. I don't think we should have just pulled out of the Middle East, leaving all of our military equipment. What are you even talking about? We didn't just pull out, leaving all of our military equipment. We literally have stockpiles of weapons that we have to maintain that are supposed to be in Israel for use in case of emergency, that if we ever need it, we can go to Israel and stock up. But at the same time, Israel is allowed to use it whenever they feel like it. They consistently do, and then we have to restock it. Well, think about how, most of the people here illegally aren't Mexicans. Well, just think about how many of them have dual citizenship. It's so hard for everybody else to get regular citizenship, yet government employees across the board are allowed to have dual citizenship with another country, one that they then vote on how much money that country gets. And how much, resistance another country gets that country may be at opposition with. The Saudi Arabians refused to sign the normalization agreement, the Abraham Accords. And lo and behold, we had a big problem with the Saudi Arabians for such a long time. Why do you think that is? It doesn't matter what immigrants you're talking about. Your family are immigrants. And then you believe this story about Ellis Island and all these ships that come through and the immigrants are kept in the cages, and that whole narrative sounds like a repopulation effort to me, but we can't talk about that stuff. And I don't even want to talk about that stuff, because that stuff is all historical bullshit that we can't know the answer to unless we overthrow who controls the information. See, it's just the same arguments over and over again. You guys want to talk about all the different distractions, and you don't want to talk about the reality of things. You don't want to talk about $3.8 billion a year. The only country that gets more is Afghanistan. They get $3.9 billion. And that's where all of our heroin fields are. And, that's a whole different narrative. It's a much bigger place, a lot more people and shit. Israel has 9 million people, maybe 10 million by now. Probably with all the influx of people they brought in, closer to 10 million. The law of return, where as long as you have one grandparent that was J, you can come to Israel and get to be a J. Like, it's just crazy what's actually happening here, and that we're just allowing it. We're not actively fighting against it. It's scary. The amount
revoking people's naturalization papers.
He
deporting people that have come through legally and went through all the process, and like for an immigrant to become a citizen, it's not just taking a.
They know way more about this country than you do.
They have to go through classes. It's insane the amount of stuff they have to go through. So now those people that have already done all that,
if you're low level,
they're getting their fucking papers revoked and being. Oh,
yeah, but he's not only doing that to foreigners. He's revoking freedom of speech. He's revoking the First Amendment. All of the legal government legislation that's going against the college campuses.
All the programs that are helping the people that need help.
No, yes, that stuff too, but the stuff that's going against the college campuses, like, this is a much bigger deal than you realize. These are the richest, most powerful people in the world. The people that can afford to send their kids to Harvard and shit like that. These are powerful people. And their kids are the ones that are being arrested, kicked out of school, all this shit, for doing a constitutionally protected activity. Freedom of speech and the right to protest, to gather and protest, and the right to redress our grievances with our government. These are all rights that we have. These are the amendments. And the First Amendment, this is the First Amendment. This is the big one. All of those things fall under that same category, the 5 elements of the First Amendment. And he's revoking that because these people are protesting against a foreign country committing genocide against another foreign country using our American everything, tax dollars, weaponry, vehicles, soldiers, everything. Do you like this is it's unprecedented. When has that ever happened? You know, when has it ever been illegal for the only, like, if you're a business owner in this country, at least half of the states have it already enacted, and another like half of the ones that are left are working on the legislation to make it it's illegal to protest against Israel.
Did the Simpsons do that, really?
I don't know.
They did.
That'd be amazing.
April 12th.
When's that? That's 12 days, yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing? It's funny though, all those things that happen, when they don't happen, people just forget it.
Right.
It doesn't come into the conversation. Now, the country won't accept them. Man, it's not. If my freedom is at risk, there's no way that I'm going to jeopardize it. What are you even talking about? Your freedom as an American is never at risk. The only time you're at risk is by your own country. The police are the most dangerous force that Americans deal with on a regular basis, and you don't even understand it. You are more likely to die by the hands of a cop than anyone else in this country. It's a statistic that's never talked about. But you in your everyday life, you are much less likely to get robbed. You're much less likely to have, car accidents, all these different things, get cancer. You're less likely than in all of those situations than you are to get pulled over by an asshole cop who, violates your rights in one way or another. And they're the only people that can kill you without there being any repercussions for it. They get promoted and shit. And then tell me, fucked up, I haven't heard of what you're talking about specifically. Of course you haven't. It's all stupid. Oh, is this more lies like the Israeli kissing the Hamas was? See, this person has already killed the credibility. When I said there's video of the hostages kissing the Hamas, this person said, lies, that's lies. And then when I showed the video, they were like, oh, no, that's just Stockholm Syndrome. I thought it was lies. Thought I was lying. How can you know what it is if you never heard of it? It was lies. That's the wrong stat, though. The thing that we need to be focusing on, because when it comes to the police violence and all that shit, that again goes back to Israel. That is the Israelis that run our government, that make the laws what they are. The qualified immunity thing. They shouldn't have qualified immunity. They should be held to the highest standards. When the cop fucks up, they should get in more trouble than other people do because they're the fucking, they're the representatives. They're the good guys. And I said lies of them coming back fat and tanned. No, they did. They all come back. None of them look like hostages. They're all just happy and fat and tan. Yeah, they are. Because they're not hostages. The stories that come out where they try to say, they're like, the one family, because apparently there is no like Hamas super prison or anything. These Israelis are just being stationed at different people's houses where they're not chained up. They're not they're not under any sort of duress. There was 3 stories that came out. The one said that I know the Hamas or the Palestinians are talking about this, that, and the other, but the one hostage, she was made to wash dishes. She had to wash dishes. That was a thing. The other one said that because he stood in front of an open window, he was made to lie in a bed for 2 days. So they have beds. Another one said that because he was such a piece of shit motherfucker that he washed his hands in the drinking water. What kind of piece of shit would do that? Whether it's your culture or not, if you know it's the drinking water, why would you wash your hands in it?
Makes no sense.
Other than to be like, I'm going to put my J skin in the water and they're going to drink it, and, you know. But they said that he was made to lie in a bed with blankets all over him for many hours. And it was a hot day outside. These are the stories that come out about the torturous system that they live. Again, if you're standing in front of a window, you're clearly not chained up. You clearly have beds and blankets and fresh water and drinking water and hand washing water and all of these little pieces of evidence you can glean from the stupid narrative they give you, because they're stupid and they think these narratives make it sound bad. Because, you know, to other Jays, when they hear that some Jay had to wash the dishes of some Hamas people, oh, that is torture. Having to wash other people's dishes, oh. You know, that's how they think. They honestly think these stories make them sound like victims. 100%, he completely made that up because he wants it to be true. Yep. That wasn't the narrative that was given when the 3 hostages were. So what they would do is they would go kill a bunch of people, right? And then they would go in there in their full garb, strip down, and then walk out and be like, oh, we were hostages in there. And so there was a story where they ended up saving 4 hostages, I believe. 3 out of one house and 1 out of a house down the road. And in doing so, they killed like 270, 280 Palestinians in the process. And it turns out that where the 3 hostages were being held was actually a prominent family where the father was a doctor, a really well-known doctor, and they had this family compound. And the son was a reporter. And the day before, he put out this scathing review of Israel and what was going on. The next day, the IDF show up at his front door. They kick in the door. One of the relatives was able to hide and saw things, but was hidden, didn't get caught, along with a couple of the children. They were able to hide. But they said that the Israelis came in, they grabbed up his father and his wife. They first shot his wife in the head in front of him, then they shot his father, and then they shot him. And then they had 3 hostages that came out of that house, and they would interview all the people around them, and everybody around in the community was like, no, we never saw anything to lead us to believe there were hostages there. Those people we had no idea those people were associated with Hamas. You know, he's a well-respected doctor in the community. Why would, you know, all these narratives of the people saying they had no idea that these hostages were being held in this compound. Because they weren't. It was just a murder campaign, and then they used that as an excuse. Oh, well, we rescued 4 hostages. The 3 hostages were the ones that had the two bed situations. And then the female that was rescued from down the road, she was the one that had to wash the dishes. She had to wash dishes. Oh, can you believe they made her wash dishes with her princess hands and everything? Washing the dishes of dirty Hamas. Yuck. But these are the narratives they give you. There's no need to make it up. It's as dumb as it can be without having to add anything. It's like believing that the Samantha Wool thing, that within hours of her death here in Michigan, within hours of her death, there was a beautiful funeral that over 1,000 people attended. She was found murdered at 6:30 a.m. The next day's morning newspapers talked about how beautiful her funeral was and that over 1,000 people attended it. Does that even seem possible to you? Like, it's just amazing how stupid you have to be to believe the narrative they give us. If you're watching, like, share, and sub. Don't forget to do that shit. It helps out. We have to counteract these Team Jorge trolls that are here every day. And this is one of those things that, again, I don't think you guys quite understand. So here, let's educate. Let's educate. Because I'm always making this shit up, right? So we're going to put Team Jorge into the Google machine. See? Team Jorge. You guys see that? Team Jorge. I don't show my sources. Okay, Team Jorge. Then we're going to click on the Wikipedia link, which is... Okay, wait. First we'll show that there's all these links to the news stories about it, okay? Guardian, organized crime and corruption, the Haaretz, that's Israel's newspaper, the Guardian, Forbidden Stories. There's all the actual news stories about it, and to think that there's not like ABC News and NBC News that picked up this story, well, that should sort of tell you something. Of course the major news networks didn't pick it up. Who do you think owns the major news networks? But, just because, again, I'm always lying, right? Team Jorge is the name given to an outfit of Israeli contractors specialized in the use of malign cyber activities, including hacking, sabotage, and bot farm-run social media disinformation campaigns to manipulate the outcomes of elections. So they're election level. So to think that maybe, just maybe, if they can interfere with an election, they could probably interfere with some random douchebag's YouTube video. Think that's maybe possible? Because I know people will say, oh, blah, blah, blah. Listen. Meanwhile, in Florida, absolute insanity with these proposed child labor laws. Eliminate working time restrictions. 14-year-olds can work overnight. Teens can work overnight on school days. And guaranteed meal breaks for ages 16 and 17. I mean, yeah, what's wrong with all that?
Florida, which, is one of the
highest trafficking.
Yeah.
God
damn it.
I'm flattering myself. Yep, I'm flattering myself by reading information, by knowing things.
That was from Florida news station.
Right. But reading things and knowing things, that makes you crazy. These dumb shits that don't know what I'm talking about, that just talk about shit, they because they don't know about it, they can't give an opposing perspective or anything. So they just sit there and stupidly say stupid things. That's what we should all be. We should all be ignoring this. Right? This story that shows you 100% proof, without a shadow of a doubt, that Israel controls social media. And when you look at everything that's going on, to then associate the fact that Israel controls our ability to protest, our ability to communicate with each other and expose the nightmare that we're in. If you don't think anything of that, I don't know what to tell you. Like, to me, this is all really obvious shit. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. The group was first exposed in February 2023, after an award-winning undercover operation by journalists from Israel and France as part of a consortium of investigative journalists coordinated by Forbidden Stories. The organization has been active since at least 2015, according to the paper trail that they were able to find. If you ask the guy who runs it, Tal Heyman, Team Jorge has been active for decades. The organization has been active since at least 2015 and boasts of having manipulated 33 presidential elections worldwide, many of them in Africa, so don't worry, and in 27 cases with successful results. 33 and 27, huh? Their activities were revealed following a 2022 sting operation in Tel Aviv carried out by 3 undercover journalists who posed as prospective clients and filmed their interactions with Tal Heyman, the group's leader and former Israeli Special Forces operative, in which he explained the inner workings of the organization. Tal Heyman used the pseudonym Jorge when working with the hacking and disinformation group, which inspired the name Team Jorge. According to Tal Heyman, the group's leader, Team Jorge has existed for more than 2 decades and has been engaged in propaganda and disinformation activities in more than 30 countries. However, its first documented activity dates back to 2015. Gee, almost like it has to do with the American presidential election that, we're told was infiltrated by Russia, but we don't get any evidence or, examples of how Russia interfered with the election. And yet, Team Jorge brags about being able to do that exact thing. And Israel exponentially benefited from Donald Trump's first presidential campaign, where he actually lost by 2.7 million votes, and the dual Israeli swamp that he promised he was going to drain put him in office anyway. 2.7 million more Americans voted for Hillary than Trump, and yet he still won it because elections aren't rigged. Their services have been available to government intelligence agencies, political campaigns, and private companies that wish to covertly manipulate public opinion. Sounds familiar. All this man is doing is smoking blunts and talking on YouTube Live for a decade now. Go take action outside of your house. Yep. Burnout. Oh, bums. That's a bum. Bum, sorry. Yep. Says the person that watches me every day for hours. And it's funny. The only thing that he can come up with to argue against the Team Jorge presentation is that I'm just a bum who's been taught I should go out and do something about it. Again, I should put on my red bandana and get a knife and get dropped off by parachute out in Israel so I can hunt down Netanyahu. That's what I'm going to do. Exposing people to the truth, a truth that a lot of you don't know about until I read it, about who's controlling your narrative. That's not valuable or something that these clowns fear. These exact clowns we're talking about with their fake fucking pages. I mean, they even identify, like Watson. Isn't Watson the IBM or the Apple technology? This guy, they love to do that shit. But I'm sure it has nothing to do with that, right? That's not a bot. A bot that is telling me that I shouldn't worry about who's controlling social media. I shouldn't worry about who infiltrates my feed every day and tries to shoot the messenger by getting people to think I'm just crazy. He knows things. That makes him crazy. I shouldn't worry about what made my feed go from thousands of views per feed to 200 or less. Nah, I shouldn't worry about that. I'm not arguing. There you go with conspiracy. Yep, it's conspiracy stuff. Definition of a conspiracy is two or more people getting together to affect the outcome, working together to covertly working together to affect the outcome of a situation. Everything's a conspiracy. But again, instead of addressing the obvious narrative, so what we're to believe is that you're not a bot, you're not an Israeli, you're just some dumb piece of shit that hates me so much you watch me for hours every day. You have nothing else going on in your life because no matter when I'm live, you're there. And you support genocide and pedophilia. Gotcha. Yeah, that's a much better option than you being some dumb bot or some dumb Israeli. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. This software automates centralized control of thousands of fake social media profiles on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Telegram, TikTok, and others, like YouTube. A number of these accounts have wallets. The group also employs hacking techniques to brute force accounts of potential victims. That does not sound familiar at all, does it? Because what I'm getting is logical, reasonable arguments trying to explain to me why it's so okay that we give Israel so much money and that we don't look at the whole J conspiracy aspect of things. No, we shouldn't do that. Team Jorge's activities were revealed after a sting operation by 3 undercover journalists, blah, 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 with Tal Hanan in Tel Aviv in 2002, in which he explained the inner workings of the organization. To test Team Jorge's abilities, the journalist tasked it with a disinformation campaign called R.I.P. Emmanuel, spreading a death hoax about a social media personality, Emmanuel the Emu. The hashtag was used in over 1,300 tweets, and a tweet from Emmanuel's owner saying he was not dead received millions of views. In the conversations, Hanan boasted of having interfered with 33 presidential campaigns, 27 of which had positive results for the faction that hired them. Hanan claimed responsibility for a 2019 cyber attack against the Central Elections Committee of Indonesia, made to look like it had come from China for political reasons. Media outlets, including Bloomberg, gee, that's weird, Bloomberg, reported on the attack in March 2019. Was this before or after Bloomberg dropped out of the election after spending $500 million? Noting the probable Chinese-Russian origin of the interference, while an investigation by The Guardian noted that it was more likely the work of other hackers leaving a false trail. He also claimed that Team Jorge interfered in a 2014 Catalan independence referendum, hacked the emails of the Chief of Staff of Trinidad and Tobago, and leaked a document to cause a political crisis, passed false information to an ABC journalist to influence the 2012 Venezuelan presidential election against former President Hugo Chavez, ran a 2022 campaign claiming the Polisario Front has ties to Hezbollah and Iran, and another 2022 campaign defaming Ali bin Fatih al-Mari, the UN envoy for combating corruption. The wider investigation, blah, blah, blah. Hanan attended meetings involving Cambridge Analytica, the Cambridge Analytica scandal, as early as 2014. Emails linked to The Guardian show that Team Jorge was then in contact with Cambridge Analytica in 2015 and 2017 over political campaigns in Africa and South America. The two organizations worked to manipulate the 2015 Nigerian election. Gee, why would Israel be so interested in all this Africa stuff? The plan was to help Goodluck Jonathan get Goodluck Jonathan reelected by discrediting Muhammadu Buhari, but the campaign was unsuccessful. Can't win them all. During the undercover meeting with journalists in 2002, Hainan showcased his ability to hack into the Telegram account of Dennis Itumbi, a digital strategist for William Ruto, during the 2022 Kenyan general election. Itumbi subsequently confirmed to the Star that his Telegram account had been infiltrated and that he noticed increased activity in the run-up to the election. Then there's just more, there's the reactions, the French radio, Le Monde, they talk about blah, blah, blah. No, we're not done yet, though. Let's look up one more little piece of this puzzle. Tal Hainan. Tal Hainan, also known by his codename Jorge, is an Israeli businessman and former special forces operator who has been involved in disinformation campaigns in order to manipulate elections in several countries. Hainan's organization Team Jorge has, for instance, attempted to influence the 2015 Nigerian general election in collaboration with Cambridge Analytica. The group operate a software called AIMS for creating fake online accounts on social media networks and using them to spread fake news. Tal Hainan's operation was the subject of an undercover investigation conducted by journalists from The Maker, Radio France, and the Haaretz in Israel, working together with the journalism organization Forbidden Stories. It was jointly reported in The Guardian, Le Monde, Haaretz, Der Spiegel, and others in February 2023. Hainan has denied any wrongdoing. Wow, they took a bunch of this shit out. That's really weird. The part where he brags about having 30,000 bots has been taken out. So it says, see also, Troll Farm, company who creates fake accounts and uses them to influence the political landscape of a country. So if you click on that, a troll farm or troll factory is an institutionalized group of internet trolls that seeks to interfere in political campaigns and decision making. Freedom House's report showed that 30 governments worldwide out of the 65 covered in the study paid keyboard armies to spread propaganda and attack critics. So it's not just political campaigns like they'll hide behind. It's attacking the critics. According to the report, these governments use paid commenters, trolls, and bots to harass journalists and erode the trust in the media. Attempts were made to influence elections in 18 of the countries covered in the study. So then you look up governments, and it gives you Brazil, China, India, Malaysia, Nicaragua, Philippines, Russia, Turkey, Vietnam, Ukraine, and that's it. We don't hear anything about Israel. I'm really shocked that they I guess I'm not shocked, but that they took out the 30,000 bots. It's such a key aspect of the story. But Tal Hainan's biography sure did get a lot shorter. Man, that's really frustrating. Again, that's fucking crazy. So when you look up the references for this, there are 21 different references for it. Because it's a fake story. God damn. That's just interesting. So it's funny too. So you look up AIMS, software package called AIMS. It's blue, so you think you click on it. You click on that, and it takes you back to the Team Jorge thing. Fake social media profiles. Let's see what that is. A sock puppet account, or sock, is a false online identity used for deceptive purposes. The term originally referred to a hand puppet made from sock. Oh, shit. Sock puppets include online identities created to praise, defend, or support a person or organization, to manipulate public opinion, or to circumvent restrictions such as viewing a social media account that a user is blocked from. Gee, that sounds familiar. Sock puppets are unwelcome in many online communities.
Why are they welcomed on Facebook?
Well, they're not, because if you look into it, you'll see that Facebook loves to brag about how they've, spent a lot of energy, money, time in removing fake bot profiles just for that, for that purpose. And they'll say things like, yeah, they got rid of, 700 profiles, fake profiles out of India, 900 profiles out of Russia, 1,000 profiles out of China. And yet Team Jorge brags about having 30,000 profiles at their disposal. And there's not even a single story about Israel, about Facebook talking about getting rid of Israel profiles. And that's just Team Jorge. That's not all of the other secret black ops organizations that do the same thing. How many secret black ops organizations do you think Israel has doing the same thing? This is just one really, really well paid, well funded, well supplied government organization, but not government organization that gets paid by the government, but also sells its services. The practice of writing pseudonymous self-reviews began before the internet. Writers Walt Whitman and Anthony Burgess wrote pseudonymous reviews for their books, as did Benjamin Franklin. Gotta love it. How many things come back to Benjamin Franklin? He is the polymath of polymaths, man. Benjamin Franklin could do it all. Him and Da Vinci, they were just fucking A. They could just do it all. Michelangelo, those guys, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael, they were all amazing. The Oxford Dictionary defines the term without reference to the internet as a person whose actions are controlled by another, a minion. With a 2000 citation from the U.S. News World Report, Wikipedia has a long history of problems with sock puppetry. On October 21st, 2013, the Wikimedia Foundation, WMF, condemned paid advocacy sock puppeting on Wikipedia, and 2 days later, on October 23rd, specifically banned wiki PR editing of Wikipedia. In August and September of 2015, the WMF uncovered another group of sock puppets known as Orange Moody. Let's see, examples of sock puppetry. Let's see if they're going to say anything about Israel. I would say no. Of course, all of the people they're highlighting are Lee Spiegel, Michael Hilzick, David Manning. Politically oriented. Gay stuff. Nope. Government sock puppetry. Nope. That's it. No, I'm really bothered by them taking out the 30,000. Like, think about it. I've read that it was 30,000, and I always argued that I read it was 30 to 40,000, but I read it multiple times from that fucking Wikipedia page. Why would that part have been taken out? You think there's a whole bunch of other people out there talking about Team Jorge? You ever heard anybody else talking about it? If you know of another person talking about Team Jorge, connect me with them, please. Because I'd love to talk to them. Why would they have removed that? If it wasn't detrimental, why would they remove it? I have 6 likes and 10 viewers. That's how that works, right? Prior to January 28th, you can literally see that they weren't even slick about it. They didn't even like slowly lower it. They just decided one day I wasn't going to be allowed to get thousands of views anymore. How many people do you know that have ever gotten 20,000 plus views on a page, on a video, on a live video, by the time they were done with it? Not how many it got when it was, after weeks and weeks. By the time they were done with it, it had over 20,000 views. I know none of the guys I watched, it's that way. I was getting numbers that just don't make sense. So for it to suddenly just stop, it's not how that works. Especially considering everything I talk about is just being more and more true by the day. It'd be one thing if it wasn't all Israel and this, that, and it was like China was the big story and the war was happening and Israel was just in a peaceful place. And I was like, no, it's coming, it's coming. Everything I've said was going to happen, happened, except for the whole Saudi Arabian involvement. But that's down the line. I still have a chance to be right on that one. Look at these same dumbass fake profiles that can't talk about any of it. If I was sitting here talking about how to rebuild a carburetor, these guys wouldn't know how to do that. They just sit here and sound stupid if they said anything else. It's just ignorance. Except these guys aren't smart enough to realize their ignorance, they could learn from it. They could better themselves. All these guys know exactly what I'm going to talk about each day, and yet every day they come back, they don't have better arguments. I know if somebody came in here and kicked my ass on something, I'd spend the day looking that shit up, trying to see what I could do, so the next day I could try to see if, either see if I could be right or admit I was wrong, one of the two. But there's no way I would just keep coming back day after day getting my shit kicked in. Are you recording something?
No, I'm just blocking
Oh.
her because she was getting so shitty.
Why don't you tell me about something that's happening right now? The open air prison being my mother's stuck in blah, 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 blah. Why don't you go watch somebody else that is talking about that? Why do you want me to talk about other things? Do you realize again how important you're making me? You want to hear me say specifically, you want to hear me talk about these things. You don't want me talking about the things I'm talking about. No. Why wouldn't you? Right? Like what would be the motivation to go on somebody's feet? Again, somebody's rebuilding a carburetor. Their page is all about how to rebuild carburetors. And you're like, dude, why don't you talk about going grocery shopping? Come on, man. I want to hear you talk about going grocery shopping. Guy's like, I'm rebuilding carburetors. It's the carburetor page. What the fuck's wrong with you? Yeah, but I want to hear you talk about grocery shopping. Talk about something that's happening right now. You mean the genocide, you dumb shit? Like, this is the best that they can come up with. And it really does, lead into the whole bot idea. The bots are just so confused and so screwed up right now that they're desperately trying to do their job, but they're failing. They can't argue anything I'm saying. So they just sort of short circuit and say stupid shit. I hope that's what you are. I hope you're not really a human that's this stupid. I have a better opinion of people than I guess I should, because I really don't think that there are this many heartless, compassionless piece of shit slaves out there who want to stay that way. I see so much American racism and again, whatever you want to call it. Because there's the racism, that the white people racism, but then there's the American racism too. Like, is it countryism? What do you call that? I know xenophobia gets thrown in there, but
Patriotism.
yeah, patriotism, right? Like the idea of patriotism is just this weirdly racist thing that we do. But it's like, you know, again, you would think
racist since its inception. We come here. Oh, there's brown people here. Well, let's kill them and claim this land as our own.
and that's only the narrative that they want us to know. Right.
That's bad enough.
That's terrible. That's the best that they could come up with was that
the most palatable.
Right.
They could come up with.
Well, and it has its psychological effects too. You know, if you find out that small group of white people took over the land from 100 million brown people and then brought more brown people in as slaves, like that creates some narratives in your own head. But I mean, it's all just stupid chat GPT shit. And the funniest part is, like, no matter what it is, if you try to prove that it's real, you're gonna be shocked by how ridiculous the narrative you're told is. You know, the submarine thing, like what benefit do I have from that? That doesn't benefit me even the slightest. Like, there's nothing I get out of it. However, it's fucking weird. It's a weirdly, easily proven false narrative that like none of you actually know, but you're all arrogant enough to comment on. And you'll absolutely comment on that, but you won't comment on the genocide that's taking place. You won't comment on the pedophilia that's so well documented. You won't comment on the obvious J slavery that controls everything. And you think I should talk about other things. Well, you just talk about me and my 8 viewers. It's so important that I say things to my 9 viewers. I talk about something different than what I'm talking about now. Think about how stupid that is. Anyway, I'm out of here. Go get your free download, www.the-bilderberg-group.com. It's free. Everything's always free. You can give as much money as you want, but it's free to get if you want it. All we ask is that you share it. There'll be a link to Hollywoodism, the most important thing you can watch, the most important video on YouTube, and you know, it's a conspiracy video that's not a conspiracy video because they make it. So it's 100% like their narrative. They're telling you that they do this. And then I'm going to leave a link to the Facebook page, the songs on the Facebook page, so you can see the music videos. Go have yourself a wonderful fucking day. Everybody try to learn something. You know, it's okay to go against the fucking grain. The grain's bullshit. And I know you see it. You see it. You're just programmed to tell yourself it's okay, I'm not going to see it. But go against the grain. Be that awesome fucking goyim that you are. And you pedophiles, you kill yourself right now.